What's up, everybody? I'm Chris Kiefer. Welcome to RacerXOnline.com. To the right of me is Chad Braun. He is the owner of XPR Motorsports, and we are here with the 2025 Honda CRF250R. I gave this bike a label of the most improved motorcycle in 2025. Why? Because of the chassis, and the engine feeling is a little bit better than previous years of the 250 from Honda. So I brought in Chad because I know you guys watching this, especially you older vet guys that are saying, hey, Kiefer, I don't need a 450. Which 250 is best for me? In stock form, it's pretty good, but I know you guys want a little bit more meat out of your engine, so this is the reason why I brought this guy in here right now. He's gonna break it down on what he did, what we call a stage one. There will be a part two to this build, but right now, what have you done so far?
Well, the first thing we did was put it on the dyno. We wanted to see where it was at. It dynoed at roughly, on our dyno, 36 horsepower, which is lower than most of the other 250s.
Okay, let me stop you real quick.
Oh, okay.
Before you guys are freaking out about dyno numbers, every dyno is different.
Right.
So when he says 36, this is just in his relation to his dyno. So forget about the number, look about the differences between the bike.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they all read different. So we started off there. We wanted to see where it was at. We rode it around just to see how it feels. It actually feels really good, better than what it dynoed, but we wanted to keep that. So what we did is we started off by putting a Vortex ECU on it, tuning it, and then adding the Akrapovic pipe. We got about 1.5 horses, almost 2 horse. It was a big difference.
Just with the Vortex and a muffler?
Yep.
Okay.
And then what we did is we went a little bit further. We put in some good fuel. We're running BP Pro 6. We did our piston for it. We also ported it to just give it a little bit more, and overall we gained 4 horsepower from the stock number. So
when you guys get 4 horsepower out of a 250, that's a pretty big number. It may not sound like it, but coming from a 250, that is a lot. So how much torque do we get out of this?
Torque, we were about 2.5, 3. So
if you're getting 2.5, 3 foot-pounds of torque, that is quite a bit. I'm gonna go dissect this thing a little bit more, and then I'm gonna bring Chad back in because I'm gonna have a bunch of questions like insert in or out, what's the most important piece of this engine, reliability, how many hours do I need? I'm gonna purchase all of these things, and do I need to rebuild it every 10 hours? So I have a lot of questions for him, but I'm gonna go ride it first and then bombard him with all these questions. So I'll be right back. Stay tuned, watch me ride. Probably doesn't look great, but we'll be back, break it down with Chad. All right, we're wrapped up here at Glen Helen Raceway. My God, I was gone for 2.5, 3 weeks on the East Coast, and we're back at Glen Helen. Whew, had to get my Glen Helen legs back underneath me, a little bit hard pack, but nonetheless, it's a good track to test engine stuff. We spent a lot of time here when I was at Honda doing production testing, just for a simple fact of just having engine feel. You can get a good feel here. We're about, I don't know, 1,000 feet from sea level. And it just has a lot of hill climbs here around Glen Helen. If you guys been here, you know what I'm talking about. So we have some suspension work to talk about as well, but we brought Chad in to specifically get with the engine. So Chad asked me this earlier. What's it feel like compared to the 250 Works Edition? So if you guys go back to the video about me talking about the Works Edition, I was really excited. It's very fun, and I stand by that. I still think compared to the standard R, the Works Edition has more snap, more pull, more playful. Now you can times that by 5 on this bike. So let's times it by 4 since we're adding 4 horsepower. How's that?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so basically what I'm getting out of this engine package is just more torque feeling, more bottom end. And what I explained to Chad was, as I'm exiting corners, I'm sure we have some of this video, it just pulls farther and longer. Sometimes I complain about Honda's third gear length, almost like it's not even existent. I have to go from second to fourth. Well, what Chad did to this engine, and maybe you can explain this and why it's like that, is third gear is so much more usable now than it ever has been, especially on the R. The Works Edition is a little bit more usable, but now this ×4 is more usable for me, a vet guy. So you older guys looking for some more torque, you want to be a little bit lazier. I still think I would add a tooth to the rear to get into third gear sooner, or maybe just leave it in third gear. But nonetheless, I explained to Chad is there's just a lot more meat involved within this engine. So where does that come from? The piston, where's it at?
I mean, it's a combination of all of it. Spend a lot of time on the mapping to really kind of get that meat and that mid-range that you speak about. But, you know, doing the porting helps it breathe a little bit better, which gives it more of that, over rev, which guys also ask for this bike.
Yeah, so I told Chad when I came back, there's, in the testing world, what we called over rev cut. So when you guys are out there say, yeah, it revs out to, what does it rev out to?
On this one is 14, I want to say it's 14.4.
14.4. So when you hit that 14.4 number, how does it cut out? In the stock production world, sometimes bikes will hit that point and just fall right off. So that rev cut is really drastic. This rev cut feel, it almost, and I'm gonna give you guys a sound, it's like pop, 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 and it just stays flat versus pop, 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 and just falls on its face. So it doesn't completely just fall off. It will let you know, like, hey, it's time to shift. Right. So where does that come from? Is that within the ECU?
That's helping the motor breathe a little bit better with the head and a little bit in the ECU. And that's one of the areas that guys comment about this bike with. They all want that area fixed because it feels like they're shifting too soon on a jump that they need to really get into it with.
Yeah, like the stock one, once it hits the rev cut, it just falls on its face. This bike doesn't do that. There's coming down the hill at Glen Helen, you make a left and down the straightaway. I shift into third gear right after the corner, and this thing will pull my ass all the way back to the seat. That's how much meat is involved in this. I brought Eddie Larrett, my guy. He's 230 pounds. We're gonna have a conversation about 250s, but even he came back and said, wow, he had a big smile on his face. So for me, the fun factor is up on the engine. I can be a little bit more lazy. Look, I'm a 450 guy. I like to run third gear. Yes, you still got to downshift to second. You got to retrain your brain a little bit, but then it's exciting. It's peppy. It makes you feel like you can hop around on the track more. It's lively. So comparing to the Works Edition, to answer your question, it's a lot better than the Works Edition. I think for me, it just has more crispness and touch. Mid RPM response and mid-range meat is where I feel like the most difference is for me. So very fun to actually ride this thing. Every time I get on a good 250, I told this to you, it's like I just have a good time. If I was just riding and not racing and maybe I wasn't getting ready for a certain race, I would just like to ride 250s just because it's fun to hang it out and rev it out, and especially if you have a good one that likes to eat a little bit.
Right, yeah, no, I mean, 250s are fun. They're a good time.
All right, maintenance. This is the thing I'm gonna get asked. Yeah, Kiefer, great, $3,000, holy crap. How many times do I gotta change a piston? What do I gotta do? So, of course, faster guys, and then you got average guys. So give us some spectrum here.
That, and then, you know, a little bit of riding conditions too. So if you're riding it in deep conditions and getting it hot, it doesn't matter what bike it is, it takes a toll on them. For a fast guy, you know, normally 20 hours, you know, closer to pro level. Vet guy, intermediate, probably 30 to 40 hours.
So that's not bad. So if you guys are wanting some more power to 250, you're really gonna know, like, you're gonna have to do more maintenance on your engine. That's the way of the 250 life. You're not gonna have that 450 way of where I'm not gonna touch it for 50 to 60 hours. And some of you guys don't even do that on the 450. It takes a little bit more care with the 250 and a little bit more maintenance. But 30 hours, I don't know how much you guys ride, but that's quite a bit of time.
It is, and it's dependent on the guy who's riding it too. Everybody rides different. Sometimes guys will get more hours out of it.
Within 30 hours, what do you have to replace?
We usually look at piston and stuff like that, you know, because it's wear. Even the OEMs in the manuals, they recommend changing them in intervals shorter than that. So, you know.
So nothing like valves or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it depends on the rider once again. A pro level guy, obviously we're going to do valves, valve springs, because we want to they're harder on the engines. That's just how it is. So we always do that sort of thing at that interval.
All right, so if you guys are looking for a more fun engine, we're going to talk about the suspension next, but get Chad out of here. A more fun engine, more meat, easier to ride. Had some 450s, I was pulling them up the hill, so there is enough there. If you just got to twist that throttle a little bit harder, this thing will oblige and actually pull your fat ass around the track. All right, I brought the big guy in here. You bigger dudes, you older guys, Kiefer, I need a 250. 450 is too much. I don't think this guy is a 250 guy per se. Before we get to him talking, and turn down your voice levels and your volume, because this guy's gonna go. But we have REP suspension on here. I didn't want to forget about that. In stock form, again, the 250 Honda. Actually, the Showa stuff is quite good in 2025. I just thought it was a little bit soft, so Mark went to work and he resprung it on each end. He got it for my weight, and I can tell you what, a lot friendlier to ride, especially here at Glen Helen Raceway. Today there's a busy day at Glen Helen, so coming down the hill is the chop. We have some video of me coming down the hill. Very easy to ride, flat, lots of comfort, what we call about pitch, not a lot of pitching. So for me, what you want here at Glen Helen Raceway is just comfort. You want stability and comfort. I have the fork at 2.5 millimeters, and I have a sag at 104 millimeters for my weight. I'm 175 pounds, and it was easy to ride, lots of comfort. So REP does know a thing or two about Showa suspension. They just aren't WP people. So shout out to them. And also shout out to Eric from Works Connection. He always dials us in with levers and perches and caps and trinkets around the bike, and he did do that. We have MX34 tires. So again, not an extravagant build, but it's an effective build. That's what I'm about. You can ask this guy what I'm about. When he wants to dress up his bike, because his garage build was last month and it's just gleaming and just all this stuff on it, I'm a mellow dude. I just want it to work really well, and I feel like that's what we got here. I do like the black motif of the decal works. I am normally a die cut guy for numbers, but we did a full background on here, and if you guys want to hit up Decal Works, they'll do everything for you guys for graphics and numbers. All right, so 230 pounds, Vet B, Senior B, I should say. Senior B. I just brought him. I was like, look, let's get a big dude on this. Big guy on a little bike. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I was actually pretty excited, you know, because it's been a long time since I've rode a 250F. The pretty much the smallest thing I've rode lately is the 350, you know, and those bikes are always fun to ride. But when Chris said, hey, we're doing an XPR garage build, are you interested? I was like, yeah, absolutely.
That's not how it went, by the way.
Yeah, it was reversed.
This is how it went. So
hey, do you want to ride on Tuesday with me? I'm going to go down to Glen Helen. I'm doing an XPR build. And I said, yeah, I'll get in on that.
There it is. That's what happened.
How it went. But
yes.
In my mind, he asked me to come for this because it's more content for the heavier vet guys.
That's true.
And you know, I use a lot of Chad stuff on my Cowie. My SR build that we did is all Chad's ignition and stuff. So I was excited. I know Chad really has this Honda market, you know, in his favor with the Moto Concepts team.
He is the MCR engine builder.
Yeah, so I knew that we had a leg up, and you know, I've been to Chad's shop several times, and
oh my God,
super meticulous, F1 style, clean, like even around his lathes and his CNC machines. If you dropped your lunch, you could eat it.
I feel like I need to take off my shoes, like I'm walking into a house.
100%. And for me, that says a lot about the product he gives to the public. You know, if he keeps his shop like that, that's what he's given to you guys when he builds his engine. So, you know, the engine feel on this thing, I was shocked. I never used first gear at Glen Helen once. They have some 90s like at the bottom of the hills and stuff. Never had to go to first gear once. Used second, shifted third a couple times with a little favor of the clutch. It picks it right up, going up like through showy, through the tight 180s and the ruts where there's kind of, today the track's kind of funky. The rut starts, but then it kind of just fades out to nothing. No complaints, man. The power was right there. Super comfortable to ride for a bigger guy. So
I was riding in second gear because obviously you bigger guys, you love third gear, right? So.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I overheard you guys talking. This was after I rode it, but second and third gear on this bike's pretty long.
Yeah.
And you kind of told me, hey, just because you hadn't been on a 250F lately, make sure you
Let it
ride
eat.
the gears out.
Yeah,
You don't need to quick shift these things. So I did that, and I never noticed a difference. I was like, man, this thing feels kind of like I'm riding a 350.
Let's paint this, and be honest. Would you ever consider, I want to say buying one. Let's just say this. Let's say, would you ever consider buying a 250?
Yeah, so I would not buy a 250F for my dominant motorcycle that I'm going to ride week in and week out. But if it's like, hey, I want a bike to break up that 450 power, I would buy this. And the only reason that I wouldn't buy it as my normal bike is because I know this is stage 1, and I go, as you've seen in my bikes, I want stage 5, if there even is one.
Right.
So there's a lot of upkeep that comes with that, so it could get expensive for me.
Right.
But if you were to say, hey man, you want to take this bike home and just ride it every once in a while and get some feedback, absolutely.
Yeah. So
because you can ride this motorcycle for today on my Cowie 450, 4 or 5 laps, starting to get arm pumped because I haven't been riding that much. 7, 8 laps.
Right.
Just having fun because the bike is light. You can move it around 100%.
if you're in a mindset that, hey, I don't care about trying to go fast, I just want to have fun and enjoy myself, and you're 200 pounds, there's nothing wrong with a 250 with a little bit of work, just like this bike right here. I got a couple of my older guys on 250s, they prefer it, so don't be scared to roll into the pits with your buddies, 4 or 5 vans, and you got a 250 and you're the only guy on a 250 and everyone's on a 450. Chances are you'll be better in the long run just because you can last longer and you'll have more fun, you'll have a better attitude, you're not scared of your machine. So having a little bit of added juice within a 250 does help. And you weren't here for this, but a 30-hour, top end maintenance is a long time. This is 30 hours, right? For guys like us riding here in Southern California. So for me, I don't know if you guys are riding 30 hours a year.
Well,
I mean, you just had a Yamaha.
I was gonna say, for my Yamaha, I had from November to pretty much, let's call it September.
Yeah.
And I gave it back with 38 hours on it. And I was riding 2 days a week, getting ready for Mammoth and all this stuff. So I was riding probably more than your average vet guy would ride.
Yeah.
And 38 hours. So there you go.
There you go. So once a year, if you guys are riding that much, and if you guys are on the East Coast, you got to put away your bike for the winter. Perfect time.
You could probably get 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. So very fun build. Happy with this CRF250R from XPR Motorsports. I will say I am going to continue on with this bike. We're going to do a stage 2, so stay tuned for that here in a couple months. I'm going to go to some different tracks and try this thing out and probably evolve the suspension spec a little bit, because I feel like I can maybe go a little bit firmer on the shock, so we'll evolve that. But nonetheless, if you need more information about this bike or Honda in general, I'm happy to help you. Chris@KieferIncTesting.com is the email. That's what we're here to do. We're here to help you guys and guide your money in the right direction. And if you need anything else from me, please ask away. That's what that email is for. And don't forget, 12 issues, $30, Racer X magazine, lots of stuff inside the mag that is not online. And yeah, we look forward to the next garage build. We'll see you next month.